Okay, welcome back. Rich, why don't you just give us a little rundown as to what happened, why we were cut off? Hmm. Now, Dave is with you, right, Dave? Pastor Dave? Yeah, yeah. Did you see him touching anything with his hands, pressing buttons or?
No, I wasn't touching any buttons. I'm just keeping my hands to myself here, brother.
I don't know if they heard about the 16-year-old or they were shut off.
No, go ahead and say it again.
Okay, what happened was in Canada, after we were terminated, in Canada, there's a 16-year-old kid who was going to a public library or in school. I hear two different sides, and there just happened to be a drag queen story. So what did this kid do, 16 years old? He pulled out his Bible and began to read. I don't know what text he read, but just reading the Bible was offensive to Canadians. And the young man was arrested. He was detained and released because he's a minor. Nevertheless, 16 years old, this kid's reading Bible, and he was removed. Too offense, way too offensive. So God bless those Canadians for standing up and doing what's right, standing up for God. It's going to take arrests. It's going to be persecution. Your name, your ministry is going to be destroyed. So God bless that young man for doing that, and even Derek for what he's standing and he's willing to continue and have this go on.
Yeah, and like I said before, cut out. I don't know if they heard Ruben, but I was saying to you, um, that in America, we go through stuff like this all the time, and you don't hear a peep about it. But Canada, somebody goes and gets arrested, and everybody hears about it, which is great. But again, we always talk about how bad Canada is. But if it's happening here in America, and our government is obviously, we still have some good judges, like you said, we're still, we still have free speech, but when Christians get persecuted here to that, with that at least, you almost don't hear a word about it. Why do you suppose that is? We hear about it in Canada, but nothing here in America when that happens.
Yeah, I think a lot of leftist, liberal, sodomites own, the media, and so they're going to definitely be be cautious as to what they print or what they say. I bet if it was a Christian that grabbed a tranny and threw him out of a room, that would be top billing for quite a few weeks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Tell them about the video game.
I don't. Yeah. Do you want to talk about the video game, Ruben? Dave just brought it up.
Yes. No. We got time, brother. Go ahead and do that.
So I don't know if you guys are aware, but it was on the news. It came out in Fox News today. There was a game that a transgender wrote. It's called Turfenstein 3D, and what it is the game's goal is to kill feminists and people that oppose drag queens and transgender ideology. So you walk around with a gun, literally killing Christians and feminists, as they call them, feminists that are against transgenders. And Steam, which is the game channel or I guess software that it's on, allowed it to be published with no issues. Can you imagine if a Christian made a game where we were killing drag queens or transgenders? Can you imagine the outrage of that?
Oh, there'd be rioting.
That is amazing.
They'd be rioting.
That would be absolutely amazing. Or what happens if it would be a white person killing blacks?
Ooh.
That would be uncalled for. So it's amazing that they do it to Christianity, and most Christians are oblivious. Yet, when Pastor David, yourself, or myself go out and preach against homosexuals, they're saying it's too hard. Be more sensitive. You guys need to tone down your message to them.
Right.
God says that sin is an abomination. God says that sin is reprobate. There are degrees of sin, much like there are degrees of punishment. So God considers that sin reprobate and an abomination. There is no other sin quite like that.
And Reuben, correct me if I'm wrong here, but in Genesis, doesn't it say the outcry from Sodom was so great that God went to see for himself how bad it was? So we could argue and say that sodomy is the only sin that God stepped out of heaven to see for himself if it's really that bad. And he went, yeah, I'm going to take that out.
That's right. Yeah, the Bible says the eyes of the Lord are everywhere, beholding the evil and the good. However, that particular sin, he had to come down personally and take a look and see if what the reports that he's hearing, what's going on out there, is really true. And so that goes against theology 100 times compared to most people's theology. That if God had foreknowledge, if God knew, why would he have to do this? Right. God actually came down to verify the report that what's going on in those two cities.
Reuben, you teach all the time. Be thankful that we're there and not God when we show up to preach.
That's right.
Because the last time God came down to see his sin, he lit the place on fire.
That's right. That's right.
That's.
And I have said numerous times for 40 years, you don't want my God to get involved, which is why he sends us. You think we're bad news. You don't want my God to get involved. He will annihilate not only an individual, he'll annihilate an entire city and maybe even an entire country when my God gets involved. So, you don't want God to get involved. He gets involved in the sense that he has inspired certain people to go out to these events and to preach to it. But when God shows up, people die. I have no, it's not like he's in heaven weeping right now for your soul.
You were talking to Derek about the drag queen stuff, and it's funny because I see a lot of what we do, at least what I do with him, that God put that there, that to preach against that thing, to stand against that. That's what he feels that burning in him to do, and that's what got me in the street. The same thing, that somebody's got to do something and stand against it. And Reuben, you see it. Actually, you've kind of seen where we're here today. You probably saw this 20 years ago. Hey, if we don't deal with this then, where we're going to be in 20 years. So for you to see this today, and then you think back when you started preaching, you got to be like, told you.
It's sad. I don't want to pound my chest and say we told you so, but in it was late 80s. We went to every major church here in Southern California, from Chuck Smith, you name it. We went and stood in front of all their churches and told them, if we don't do something, these guys are one day going to marry. And they said, absolutely not. Even Pastor McVee, who goes through the Bible in 1 year, nice guy. I remember being out in front of his church, and he'd come out, just tell me what I did wrong, Reuben, so you can go. It's not a matter of doing something wrong, Pastor McGee. These homosexuals are going to be marrying one day, and we did nothing about it now. And they'd shake their heads, no, it's not going to happen. Much like, Rich, when we've gone to the Mormon conference and we told them, your church is going to one day marry men together in your sacred temple. Oh, no, it's not going to happen. We're not going to rub their noses and say, see, we told you. I regret I even had to bring that news to it. But when you keep your ear to the track, for heaven's sake, you hear what's coming down the track. It's going to happen. And, you're right, brother. Now, you've been doing these events for how long now, Rich?
Almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years. And did you do it locally, or did your hate provoke you so much that you even went to another city and state?
It actually started in Lafayette, Louisiana. I wasn't even living there, but Aaron Gidry was there, and this was kind of one of the ones that was first publicized. Like, hey man, they're having a drag queen, and hey look, I was quite popular on Facebook. I had hundreds of thousands of people. I was making videos. I got to stay in my house, and I was getting donations. Right? I mean, it was great. It was easy. Oh, looks are bothering me. Block. That was it. But when I heard that drag queen, I literally couldn't. I have to do so. I can't sit here. I didn't know you. I didn't know street preachers, and I literally had this I had this. I couldn't control. Like I had to do it. Like I had to go out and stand against it, and I did. And it was in Lafayette, and pretty much everywhere Christians would say, "Hey, come here, come here, come here," and that's what we did all over the country. And it was one of these things where if I didn't do it, I think I would probably like hurt myself because it was that unbearable to know that it was happening and not be able to do anything about it. And Ruben, just so you know, since I started doing that, the donations dried up. I lost my Facebook page, of course. And then I met you and got cited and arrested.
And it was at a drag queen
Yes,
story
it
time.
was. Yes, it
Boy, I
was.
tell you.
So if you don't want to get arrested, then stay away from Ruben.
Next you'll be getting
What did Paul say something about woe unto him if he doesn't preach?
That's exactly how I felt. Yes, if I don't do it, I don't think I'd be able to take it. Like even when I can't go with you, when I see you guys, my wife will tell you something like, "Oh, I should be there." But yeah, all over the country,
Now,
and we shut down
brother,
26.
when these cities tell you need to come, obviously they covered your airfare, hotel, and your food, right?
No,
What?
no,
What?
no.
Wow. Talk
you-
about loving your neighbor. For those of you that wish to mock Brother Rich here. So you didn't get the airfare?
No, as a matter of fact, Ruben, when I first started doing this, and actually I don't even know if I told you this. When I first started this, I had just gotten a settlement check because I got hit by a car, and I'd have surgery and all that. So I had $200,000 in the bank, $200,000, and I said, I have money. I don't need donations. I could do it myself. In hindsight, that was a bad idea to say that, but I did. And not only did I do it for myself, but all those guys that came with me, I paid for all of their stuff too. Their airfare, their
Well, I'm
hotels.
sure they're very thankful for that. I'm sure they're standing by your side even today, aren't they, Rich?
No, they're not. As soon as when all this happened, CPS came knocking on my door. They were pro-gay, and I haven't heard from those guys since then.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? You get a little government involvement, and all you see from your brothers is their rear end and an elbow because
Yeah.
they're running away from you. What a sad commentary. And you paid for their airfare to join you at these cities.
Their airfare, their food, their cars, new Apple iPhone 10s, recording equipment, bullhorns, jackets, T-shirts. I was so happy to have people come out with me that I said, I'll pay for it all. I got money. I'll do it. I wish I had known you back then. You probably would have told me not
Boy.
to do that.
But you're full of hate. You have no love for these people. It's amazing, what you've done. And how many of these drag shows, brother, do you think that God used you to shut down?
I stopped counting after 26? Because last year, Dave and I did what?
6.
We did 6 last year, Dave and I together.
Last year, yeah. We collaborated on 6.
And we've pulled out probably.
And I shut down. Me and Tracy shut down one in Anchorage.
And we probably pulled out just last year. We found a new tactic, probably close to $500,000 to $1 million in support for some of these shows from sponsors.
Yeah,
Wow.
we hit them hard.
That's where it hurts them. Yes.
Yep. And it's not that hard to do, by the way. All you gotta do is show them one of the drag queen videos, what they're doing in front of kids, and the sponsors go, "Oh no, I'm not supporting that." Like literally, that's how easy it is.
And I'll tell you, there's a lot of these story times that out here west where you just have regular citizens phoning in and complaining, and that will eventually stop that reading from happening.
Yep.
So, what an embarrassment that the church is asleep, and yet you have these patriot civilians that are willing to do something. They don't know how to make a sign or a banner. I mean, they'll put something on cardboard and at least be out there.
Yeah.
And you've got the Holy Ghost, you've got Calvary, you've got the Bible, and it's hard to get you to even move.
Which I don't understand. I'm not I wasn't a street preacher when I started. I was very happy doing my social media stuff. Again, it was real easy, just block, done, that's it. Very happy in my home. I didn't have to leave. I got to see my kids every day, my wife every day, and I had a lot of people that followed me. It was very comfortable, very easy, not tough to do. I had people, I was well known amongst, American Family Association and all the different states and their, conservative groups all wanted to be friendly with me. And by the way, they're not friends with me anymore. It was very comfortable and very easy to just stay in social media land making videos. That was it. But when I got out there, everything changed. Christians literally walked away from me. I mean, the same people that followed me back then, man, Rich, you're bold. Man, Rich, look at this. You're posting, but you're standing up to the LGBT. Yeah, on social media, they were all there. They loved it. But the minute I went in the street and started getting some personal stuff like that came to my house, forget about it. They were gone. Yeah. All of them. I think we have 3 or 4 people that have been, when I was popular on Facebook, 3 or 4 people that are still with me to this day from back then. The rest are all gone.
Wow. It's you're not going to have a large people following you and doing a lot. Rich, I've been called a cult, a leader of a cult.
I don't know how either.
They say if you're a cult, you move to California. Well, I just happened to live there my whole life. I didn't move here. They say that you're going to have followers. Nobody follows me. They follow Jesus Christ.
Right. We work together.
And they say that
we work together.
They say that. Yes, they say you're going to be a millionaire if you're a cult. That's, that should speak volumes that I'm not a cult. But you'll be surprised what they will label you because, if you want to have that check coming in,
yeah,
you're going to, be tickling some ears. We talked about it before. Sometimes you can have a false teacher, a false prophet, and they get all the blame.
Yeah.
However, in the book of Jeremiah says, because my people want it so.
Right.
The people want to hear this stuff. And so guys like Joel Osteen will teach it. It's not like he influenced them. The people want it so. So your message of, having people support you, that's going to dwindle you.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've been teaching young street preachers. You go out, you hold the banner, you think God wants you full time, buddy, you're going to lose anybody that supports you once, say, some news media gets a hold of you and rips your name apart. So don't think it's very glamorous. It is not very glamorous.
Wait, Ruben, I'm sorry, it cut out.
Go ahead, brother.
I thought you had a really good name in the media. I mean, I thought people loved you.
Yeah, they love to hurt me is what they like to do. But no, I wouldn't trust the media. The media would slam you, which is one of the reasons I kind of like Trump, because the media hated him so much.
Yeah.
The same people that hated Trump hated us.
Yeah.
And so he's not our spiritual leader. He's not our Messiah. Just look at who actually despised him. And it's amazing, Rich. Some of the people that used to think that all we did was want to be arrested, all we did is hate people, now they're getting arrested.
Yeah.
And now they're starting to open up to us.
Yeah.
Hey, Brother Ruben, can you give me an attorney that you would recommend?
Yeah.
Where 3 years ago, this guy was slamming against the wall verbally.
Yeah.
Hey, all you have to do is go out there. Your intention isn't to get arrested. Your
No.
intention isn't to purposely offend the people. It will.
I've got 6 children and a wife here. You think I want to spend a night in a jail cell when I have kids at home and a wife at home? You think I would sit in a cold jail cell on a concrete slab with a pillow this thin when I could be home in my king-size bed with my wife next to me? I don't want to go to jail. I'd rather just be home with my wife and kids. I know you don't want to go to jail.
No. And usually when you're in jail, they'll if they want to make a statement, they'll take along with your procedure, your paperwork. Normally if you get arrested for a DUI, you can be out in 12 hours.
Yeah.
But you street preach, they may keep you in there for a day and a half.
22 hours.
Welcome to the world of open air preaching. It's not very glamorous at all. Oftentimes we show videos, we say things that make it look very appealing. But, after decades of doing this, I look back, it's not very glamorous. I'm very thankful we didn't have the testimony of the drugs and the alcohol, or that might make me go back to drinking. Make me go back to do some very stupid things.
Ruben, you talk about people who accuse you of cult, but I just want to say this about you at that, because if you were a cult, you've never once said, hey, Rich, why don't you take your family and move to California? I've never heard you ask anybody to come to where you are. Matter of fact, you dissuade people if they bring that up. You're like, no, you stay where you're at. Occupy till he comes. God uses you there. You stay there. Also, people, like you said, you get a check. And, people forget this, but you probably spent more time in Tennessee when I lived there than you've probably been there your whole life. And you came there on your own dime. When I asked you, hey, would you dedicate my son, Abel, when he was born? I said, hey, we could do it at SOPA. You said, no, this is one of these things that's worth its own. And you got a plane ticket the next week, and you and John Williams came to Tennessee to do that dedication on your own thing, whatever. Cult people don't do that. It's usually all about you, not you going to them and doing things for other people. So those are things people don't know about you, or John, or anybody else for that matter. If you guys challenge the Second Amendment like you do the First, you'd have gotten serious jail time. That's probably true. Wait, challenge the Second Amendment. I can walk around here with open or concealed. I don't know how much more I could challenge it.
Maybe in some states.
In Oklahoma, everybody's got walking. You go outside Walmart, you'll see everybody with a gun.
Well, we don't need to use the Second Amendment to see people get saved, but we do need the First
That's
Amendment.
right. That's a good point. So, did you hear him, Ruben?
Yes, I did. Good point, David.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So, Andre Audio, if you didn't hear David, he said, we don't need the Second Amendment to get people saved, but we do need the First.
That's right.
What say you on that challenging the Second Amendment there, Ruben?
Oh, I don't have a problem with it, but that's not my emphasis. Much like, freedom of the press, it's there, but that's not the emphasis. Like David pointed out, very clear, without that free speech, I can't preach about Jesus Christ. So you own 5 guns and you go to hell. That doesn't help us and what our message is.
Yeah, great. You own guns, but you're still going to hell. That's a good point.
The Bible's more important sword than the other one.
Yeah. Because we do have police officers in this country, a lot of wicked ones, but Ruben, you point out very often, we still have a lot of good police officers that want to do good. Most guys that become police officers do so because they want to make a difference.
Absolutely. And you're going to have bad people in almost everything.
Right.
There's bad officers. Who's going to deny that? You got bad politicians. You got bad doctors. You got, bad street preachers, bad pastors. Anytime you have a group of people coagulated, you're always going to have somebody who, is not going to be working well with everybody. They've got their own agenda, whatever it is.
Yeah. And by the way, the Second Amendment, if things do get to the point where you have to use it, by that time in this country, it probably isn't really going to matter whether it's lawful or not. If things get that bad, I don't think it's going to matter. But I do like Dave's point a lot, though. Like I said, you need the First, and that's real. And Ruben, you've been fighting free speech for free speech for a long time. I've never really had any issues until I met you. with getting arrested or cited and things like that. It's true. I mean, it's not because of you, but it's just, when these things happen, you become more notorious, if you will, or infamous, and you start doing more things. And I've learned a lot from you over the years. It happens, and I'm involved in one case. We're about to get another case against Amarillo and possibly a third case in Oklahoma. All because we're dangerous at our words. That's what we do. We run our mouths. That's the extent of our dangers is using this.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
But since we're talking about drag queen stuff and all these things here, any questions? I mean, Ruben, you preach them. You preach the big pride events. I do more of the smaller ones, but you preach all those big ones. If you guys don't know, by the way, you want to learn how to negotiate with police? There is not a single person I've met in my life better than Ruben at that. I have seen cops say, no, shut it down. 5 minutes later, it's like, okay, we're going to be here for another half an hour. Just turn it down a little bit, and the cops leave us alone. It goes from completely shutting it down, go home to, no, we'll be here for another half an hour. Just turn it down a little bit.
As soon as the police leave, we turn it back up.
Yeah, when we go to Salt Lake City, one of the main officers had said, when conference begins, Ruben, I need to pull you aside, and I try to bounce some stuff off of you when you come back in May for the Sodomite Parade here. Or they didn't say Sodomite Parade, the Gay Pride Parade. So, again, you work with them, they'll work with you. And I can say no, I can say yes. So we'll see what that meeting's going to be about. But that's my life. You
Wait, this
talk
year?
to police because you might get arrested this year. Yeah.
They
So when I'm there in April, they'll pull me aside and we'll have a little conference on the sidewalk, or they may pull me into a building. I have no idea.
I wonder if it's because last year when we walked down the sidewalk and that guy spit on me, and he got in trouble, by the way. But didn't they give you something about that, about walking the sidewalk or something last year about
No.
somebody? No?
No, because we had argued that before. Walking on the sidewalk is there, but it has everything to do with a protest or a picket. Like union members, they can't stand still, or they'll block the access going into the place that they're picketing. So we're not protesting, we're not picketing, we're preaching. So that law does not apply to us.
I just wonder if it's because, like last year, they got violent with us. A couple of them got cited last year.
Yes. Yeah, they only asked us to move because it was very hot. And the police were under some trees because they didn't want to stand in the heat, with us. So they did ask me, is it possible for you guys to move out of the sun?
They were. We were they were underneath the not air conditioner, but the shade.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Ruben, we have I don't know if it's a comment or a question, but it was, as a believer, it is not a sin to carry guns, but I heard someone preaching holiness that if someone comes to my home and tries to harm my wife, I'll shoot them dead. That is not biblical. And somebody says,
that was me.
We are entitled to defend ourselves at home. And they said, can you prove that from the Bible? Because he said Jesus taught some hard truths that if we, count the cost, we don't hate our mother, father. So he's suggesting that you let somebody come and rape and torture your wife because you're supposed to hate her more than love Jesus. I'll let you handle that, Ruben.
Wow. Yeah. Why don't you give me your address and make sure your front door is unlocked, and I'll announce your address to everybody. Let's see if you're really going to do what you're talking about, or if you just talk. I mean, if you trust Jesus, I'm assured that you don't lock your car door and you leave the keys in the ignition, because Jesus will protect you. There are certain things that we do. Mm-hmm. Let me break it down for you. And unfortunately, I don't have any crayons, so I'm just going to have to go this route and make it this simple. There is a preaching situation, and there is a non-preaching situation. When you come to my house, it is a non-preaching situation. I'm not going to give you a questionnaire and have you fill it out so I know what your intention is. Once you remove that screen off that window, or open that door, all bets are off. I have no idea what you're going to do. And so, I'm not going to give you a track. You'll most likely get a bullet. I'm not going to give you a warning shot. You will most likely get a bullet. And in my way of thinking, I loved my neighbor. My neighbor next door, my neighbor across the street is now safe, at least from this individual, that he's not going to do harm to them. So, in the spirit of loving your neighbor, that guy needs to go down.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, and doesn't the Bible say, if you don't take care of your family, you're worse than infidel? And we know Christians think that's all about money, because as we think about, but not for nothing, Ruben, but I think taking care of your family means making sure they're safe, making sure, we're supposed to die for our wife, not turn around and go, there's my wife, go get her. I'm just, I love Jesus, and I don't want anything bad to happen to you, so I will pray for you while you're raping my wife.
Yeah, yeah.
And
again, brother, when Peter slit that guy's ear off, which we all know he was probably going for the neck, Jesus scolded him and said, put the sword back in the sheath. In other words, holster your weapon. Right. He didn't say get rid of it. He didn't say we're not here for that. He said holster your weapon. When Jesus, before he was going to go to the cross, he asked them, how many swords do you have? Or when he was resurrected, how many swords do you have? He said, sell your clothes and get another sword. The Bible doesn't mention what they did with it, but we know they were armed. And a sword is not a kitchen utensil.
I got to read you the comment, Ruben. I hope you laugh as hard as I did. But if you kill that sinner, then you sent them to hell. How is that loving your neighbor as you love yourself?
Well, you can always Christianize the projectile, so at least he's getting the word of God as the projectile goes inside of him. If you're really that concerned about him.
God says hell.
Hey, I'm sure that sinner has heard the gospel many times, most likely in prison. Most likely you've got guys that are doing things in prison that are trying to save their soul, chaplains. So it's not like the guy never heard the gospel. I mean, come on, you've lost your mind.
And you're not sending him to hell.
Maybe he repented as he was choking on his blood.
Maybe, but you didn't send him to hell. And so do we really believe that if we have the power to send people to heaven or hell, do we really believe that's in our capabilities to do that? Because, Ruben, last I checked, we don't get to make that call. We don't get to say, yeah, well, you know what? I don't like you. You're going to hell.
Yes. Jesus Christ, when he spoke to the rich young ruler, Jesus said, did you keep my commandments? And the rich young ruler said, yes, all of them. Jesus didn't say you're a liar. So you're able to keep the commandments. And get ready for this, legalist.
Uh-oh.
He didn't say, when he quoted the commandments, thou shalt not kill. When Jesus talked to the rich young ruler, he said, thou shalt not murder.
Mm-hmm.
So he modified everything, much like if you look after a woman to commit adultery. He modified adultery. If you hate your brother, you are a murderer. So there is a difference between murder and killing. Killing would be more under self-defense.
Right.
It's in Webster's dictionary if you're really that concerned about it.
I don't understand where Christians get this mentality from. Ruben, there are people that think that are married, they have small children, young girls, young boys in the house at an age where, it's completely normal now to turn kids into sex objects. And you think that it's holy and godly to let somebody come in and torture and abuse your wife and children, and you think it's godly to let that happen? What kind of man allows somebody to do that to their family? I really hope that you're not married with children.
Yeah. And like I said, top it off, leave the keys in the car. Don't have a car alarm. Don't lock the car. Leave it running when you go inside Walmart. Have faith in God.
Go to Portland and do it. See what happens. Even Walmart is packing up and leaving Portland because they can't take it anymore.
That's right. That's right.
But, Ruben, you have a wife, you have children. I mean, you've been doing this for 40 years. Even way back when, 30 years ago, Did you ever have that idea that, hey, you know what? I love you so much, I'll let you have my wife.
Yeah. Now, we've been arguing that since the 80s. You're always going to have one or two little guys with, a little wrist that's draping, I don't think we need to do this. Well, you don't know what you're talking about.
Wow.
Preach situation, non-preach situation. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out.
So now you're in the flesh, just so you know. That's fleshly, and it's hard, Ruben, but that's the way it is. We fear God, even if it's unpopular. So that'll be the last comment I mentioned from that guy there. It's just ridiculous.
Oh, well, I'm going to miss my...